The fantasy football entourage for winning.
Welcome, Entourage, for this week's edition of Waiver Wires. Okay, guys. Well, hopefully you've been keeping track with the videos. You've been scooping up those gems. You've been staying away and holding those waivers for the right moments. And quick disclaimer, this is probably not that week. It's kind of funny, though. It's like the beginning of the year, you have these unexpected players that go off and you have some pretty, good gems. And then kind of in the middle of the season, it gets a little, lackadaisical a little bit. And then it picks up. I noticed at the end, you get more injuries. You get those potential league winners, those handcuffs that get the opportunity to shine. Okay. Now, one of those cuffs you guys might be thinking is Kenny Gainwell. Kenny Gainwell. And it's funny because I was having a conversation prior to Sunday's game, and there was some situations of people in my Facebook group and actually myself as well, where Kenny Gainwell was at the end of the bench. We wanted to pick up someone else, and he was the weakest link. And one of the things I explained to my followers was that Kenny Gainwell, at best, he's still going to be a complimentary back. He's a hybrid / satellite back. Think of Nyheim Hines. So Nyheim Hines, he's had some big games, right? Usually when you don't start him. And then he has some absolute clunkers like last week and what we've been seeing more recently, right? And Kenny Gainwell, prior to these last two games, or maybe prior to this game, we were seeing that low floor. I think he had like less than 2 points, right? He did have a touchdown this game, which kind of saved him, but he's never going to be that workhorse 20 touches type of player. Instead of splitting with Miles Sanders, he's splitting with Boston Scott. So why is he on my waiver video when, well, remember what I said, the way to get on this waiver wire video is either what we're looking for, I should say, it's either potential starters or league winners. Is he a league winner? No. Is he a potential starter? Possibly, especially this week against the Detroit Lions. But there is some risk. He still could have a pretty decent floor because he's not going to get the rushes. I doubt he gets the goal. I mean, he might get the goal line carries, but even then it will be a split. He's not going to be the goal line specialist. Let's put it like that. So they don't really target, or they're inconsistent. Well, that whole offense, first of all, is inconsistent. The only thing consistent about that offense is Jalen Hurts is going to get you 25 points, and half of those are going to come in the fourth quarter. But other than that, they don't have an identity. You get what I'm saying? So I don't even know if he's going to get a bunch of targets, which is what he'll need, or a big play. But given the circumstances, Miles Sanders will probably be out. They're facing the Detroit Lions, so obviously the matchup is there. So I think he is worth an ad, but I would temper my expectations. Okay. Now, somebody you don't need to temper your expectations with, probably the only person on this list, but he might not even start. I'm talking about Trey Lance. Now, first we got to see if he's over his injury. If he's over his injury, I think it will be hard-pressed not to start Trey Lance if Kyle Shanahan wants to keep his job. I think people are getting fed up. He's had more losing seasons than winning seasons, and outside of that Super Bowl run, he's done absolutely nothing. Okay, obviously they don't have faith in Jimmy Garoppolo, or they wouldn't have traded up to select a quarterback with the third pick. At 2-4, you got nothing to lose, and at the very minimum, excite your fan base. Because again, Jimmy is not it. And you told us he's not it, which is why you traded for a quarterback to begin with. So I think Kyle Shanahan needs to stop the shenanigans. So I believe if Trey Lance is healthy, I believe he'll be starting this week. At the very latest, next week. So why do I like Trey Lance? He's a quarterback. His first game was right? But he's a runner. His first game, he had 16 carries. Now, I hope, and that was kind of reckless. I don't know why Kyle did that. That was very reckless in my opinion. Yeah. But he did it. He's still going to get probably 8 to 10 carries. And I think the more experience he gets, the better he'll become as a passer, because he is a football player. He has a high football IQ. I believe he'll learn how to read, the defense. He has a cannon for an arm, and he's not scared. And he's a tremendous athlete. Okay. So the sky's the limit. Very few times do I tell you to draft a quarterback or hold a quarterback or stash a quarterback. But in the rare case, and he's only rostered in like 26% of leagues, this is the time to get Trey Lance. And I think this could be a boost to a lot of people, especially if you're lacking in the running back department. He's kind of like 2-1. So the upsides there, I like Trey Lance. Okay. Now, for receivers, this is a name that I've been touting for a while. So long, even before the season started. Haven't heard many analysts tout this name. Analysts out there, they just tout every single name so they could just go back and say, oh, yeah, I remember I mentioned him, because they put, oh, this person could be a possibility. But I really like this player. And I'm talking about Van Jefferson. Why do I like Van Jefferson? Well, why did I like him before the year? First of all, he's a second-round pick, which obviously they like him. They drafted him in the second round. He's a talent. He's over 6 feet, well over 6 feet. He runs, I think, like a sub 4.4 or something in that range. So he's fast. He's big. Matt Stafford seems to like him. And here's the thing. The reason why you watch this channel is so you could be ahead of the game, right? And before the season started, I said Van Jefferson, somebody that you could use as a bye-week filler and would be a great handcuff to either Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods. Well, last week, a lot of you guys were desperate, including myself. He's a bye-week filler. He got you 16 points, I believe, in PPR. He had a touchdown. He has 3 for the season. Not bad, right? He's averaging almost 5 yards per or 5 targets per game. So it's important. I've had this conversation regarding Javonte Williams as well. It's important that we try to predict things that are not always clear to us. Somebody told me, he goes, Javonte, there's no telling, he could be good because he's only getting, he's only splitting touches with Melvin Gordon or whatnot. So we don't know. That's what he told me. He goes, we don't know what's going to happen. But if history repeats itself, there's always players, guys. And this is the gem right here. Okay, these are the keys, because it's hard to find. It's hard to see things that are not in front of our face. Okay, but every year there's players just treading that line and just look good, that if they just got a little more opportunity, they boom. Van Jefferson is that guy. He's looked good. He's shown flashes. He's got 4.5 targets. Not terrible, but we'd like to see more. And even with that, in an efficient offense, throwing offense, a Sean McVay offense, that's at least rosterable, right? But what happens if he got a little more? So that's what we got to try to predict. I don't think Javonte Williams is going to keep getting 8 to 10 carries. Yeah, if that's the case, he's never going to break out. But the skill is to predict the next breakout. And eventually, this is where the whole talent over everything comes through. Eventually, the universe just conspires for these players to eventually break out. And I think Jefferson, at the very minimum, which is consistent with what I said before the year, he could be a bye-week filler. And if you have Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, he'll be good, as a handcuff. But with a little more, what if those go to 5 to 6 targets? What if one of those receivers get injured? And when you're dealing with players that are young, and those are the players I like to bet on, the ones that are young and showing flashes, because then there's room for upside. Once you've been in the league 4 or 5 years, most players, first of all, the average career for NFL players like 4 or 5 years. Most players don't even last that long. But once you've even been in the league for 3 years, and then if you've been in the league for 3 years and you're putting Van Jefferson numbers, I'm not going to tell you to draft. I'm not going to tell you to pick them up. I'll be like, no, that's not. I'm not telling you to pick it. And that's where people get mixed up. They're like, Why are you telling me to pick up Javonte Williams? He sucks. He only got 8 carries. He's splitting with Melvin Gordon. Why are you telling me to pick up Jefferson? He's got no, because there's upside in those players. There's upside. If Isaiah Ford was putting up those numbers, I wouldn't say pick him up, but there's room for growth. And as the season goes along, remember, these rookies didn't have an offseason last season, and it's harder for a receiver than it is a running back. I like Van Jefferson. I can't believe I just spent like 5-10 minutes explaining why I like Van Jefferson, but I like him. And that just goes to show the quality in this waivers when I'm spending that much time on Van Jefferson. But I do like him. Pick him up. And I believe he faces the Texans. Is that right? Hold on. Let me verify that, because that's beautiful. Yeah, the Texans. Does it get any better than that? Next up, Michael Gallop. Michael Gallup's another player you've heard me talk before if you've been watching my content for some time. I like talent. I like passing offenses. Yes, it's crowded. It's crowded for Jefferson too. It's funny. 3 wide receivers on their own team. I'm mentioning in a waiver. But a wide receiver 3 on a potent offense means a lot more than a wide receiver 2 on a crappy offense. Okay? And are we going to be able to trust? Because all you guys are always like, Rapper, can we trust insert player? No. There's very few players we could trust. We could trust Davante Adams. We could trust Jonathan Taylor. Looking real good, by the way. But no, we can't trust Michael Gallup. These guys are for free, okay? But, if you want, an extra wide receiver 4 or 5 that you could plug in and has wide receiver 1 upside any given week, I'm not saying he'll be a wide receiver 1, but any given week, he could get you 20, 25 on a real good day. And similar to Jefferson, if something happens to Lamb, something happens to Cooper, he could be really, really relevant. Dallas got a soft schedule too. So I like Michael Gallup. I do. Okay. And then last but not least, okay, again, this is a short waiver. It's not, we're looking for potential starters, league winners. If you're wondering why Uzama or something like that is, yeah, I mean, you could play him, whatever. It's still dicey. He's got a good matchup. But my last player is Alan Lazard. And this is really just because Davante Adams looks like he's going to miss Thursday night's game. It should be a high-scoring game. Lazard's actually a pretty good player. I like him better than MVS. He shined before. He shined this past week. He had a touchdown. So he was one of my favorite DFS flex plays, by the way. So, yeah, he, by default, is their number 1 receiver. Arizona, not a very good pass defense. So I think Alan Lazard, just because you could play him this week. Now, if you're not starting Alan Lazard, don't pick him up because you're only going to be able to play him this week. He's going to be really hard to trust. And again, what are we about at Entourage? We're about saving our $5. We're about, saving our waivers, because a lot of times what we could get after waivers, the morning after, is just as good as what you could get the night before. Every time. That's where I rack up. So imagine there's often times where I get better players the morning after than what people use their waiver on, because people just use their waiver on foolishness. They're just chasing points. Oh, player had a big game, I'm going to pick him up. But then the next week, because what I tell you, there's very, very few players we could trust and that are consistent, especially at receiver. So hold the fob, hold the waivers. If you're interested in finding out my complete list of waivers, it's only, actually, you know what? I'm going to do a special. It's halfway through the year. It's halfway through the year. $10. $10. My complete list of waiver wire gems and free agent finds. My complete list of trade targets. Rankings tomorrow. Thursday, excuse me. Updated rankings for a Saturday. I'm the only analyst I know that updates their rankings. So this way I could get in all the practice injury. But so it's $10. And more importantly, you help the channel. You help the channel, help my well-being. If you're interested in that, comment premium or send me a DM at Instagram at Fantasy Football Rapper or email me fantasyfootballrapper@gmail. Also, if you're into the bet, if you want to get into the betting group, we won all our games. I missed 2 player props. I missed Marquez Callaway, but we won all our games last week. And then we went like 4-2 or something like that on the props, or maybe was it 2-2? I don't know. Jameis Winston hit both his props. Jonathan Taylor hit. But yeah. So questions. Let's go. I don't have too much time, but I'll try to get as many as I can. I'm doing 101 things. What's up, Rapper? What do you think about Jeff Wilson when he comes out? I get so many questions about Jeff Wilson. It's not even funny. I mean, he's not coming back for at least another month. And yeah, if you have he's even questionable as an ad with people in an IR spot because there's plenty of injured players. But if you have an extra IR spot, fine. I don't think he's a league winner. I don't think he's that talented. I do believe that the Niners have an elite offensive line. Okay. So, the good thing is, here's the good thing. What seemed like a crowded backfield in the beginning of the year is no longer the case. Okay. So for Jeff Wilson to become the guy in the beginning of the year, he had to be the incumbent starter, Raheem Mostert, who's had success in the past. He had to be the player the Niners drafted, the sexy rookie. Well, we thought at the time, Trey Sermon. So he had an uphill battle, not to mention you also had satellite backs like Elijah Mitchell and JaMychal Hasty. Now, the only thing stopping him from becoming the guy, but even if he's the guy, he'll still be splitting with JaMychal Hasty, which is interesting. JaMychal Hasty actually has an interesting role because he's entrenched as that third down back. Okay? Pretty much, I think. All right? So all Jeff Wilson has to do is beat Elijah Mitchell. And for all we know, Elijah Mitchell could get hurt, not the biggest back. So Jeff Wilson's prospects are looking a lot better right now. But again, holding a player a whole month is a lot. Holding a player like Jeff Wilson a whole month, no. It's not worth it. If there is an IR spot, though, proceed. I would die for the entourage. Well, I don't want you to die, but I appreciate the passion. Michael Thomas coming back. We're at the pickup and stash. And do you see George Kittle bouncing back, or do we need to move on from him? Well, if Michael Thomas is available for free, yeah, pick him up. I wouldn't go out of my way to trade Michael Thomas. I don't think he's going to be the Michael Thomas of old, and I'm not even sure he'll be, even remotely good. It's a big question mark. Okay. With that said, if he's free, yeah. George Kittle, if you didn't get rid of George Kittle by now, I'm not opposed to selling George Kittle, but he does have elite upside. I think that's going to be harder to get with Trey Lance, believe it or not. Even though I like Trey Lance more, and I think he's a better quarterback, I think he's more of a better fantasy quarterback because of the running. I don't think they're going to throw the ball a lot with Trey Lance. 20, 25 passes. Still got Debo. Still got Ayuk. I don't even know if he's worth mentioning. So I don't think we're going to see an elite George Kittle, but it's all about hedging your bets, right? So I'm not always right. I said I don't believe, but he still has elite talent, right? Okay. So if you could get something good, I don't mean good like third round elite George Kittle value, But I mean, good. You know what I'm saying? Depends what you need, too. Then I would think about moving him. But I'm not going to give him away. You know what I'm saying? It's hard for me to name a player because you guys are probably wondering, well, who would you get? Who would you take for George Kittle? I would take Cordell Patterson, but I doubt you're going to get him. And it just depends what you need. It really depends what you need. So it'll be hard for me to say. And it also depends who would be your tight end instead of George Kittle. If I have Herbert, Winston, and Watson for QB, why do you have 3 QBs? You could drop Winston. Well, here's the thing. Drop Winston and Watson. Why do you have 2 QBs? 3 QBs? Jesus. I don't think anybody in a regular 10 to 12 team league should have 2 QBs. Unless you had an okay QB and then we're stashing Lance. But guys, it's QB. Keenan Allen, T. Higgins, buy low targets. Yeah. Lazard is out too. I didn't even know that. Damn. When that happened? Two QB league. Need a QB fill-in for us. Big Ben, Jimmy G, Tua, Mac Jones, Goff, Keenan Baker. Guess. Let me see here. Let me look at the schedule again. Wow, none of these guys. I don't even think Jimmy's gonna start. Tua against Buffalo, not feeling that at all. Who else you got? Mac Jones, Goff, Keenan. Ugh. Jimmy G. Good Lord. I guess Big Ben. What's Big Ben against the Browns? I guess Big Ben. I mean, I don't feel great about it, but at least he's your second quarterback. Tyrod Taylor worth a pickup in Superflex as QB2. Yeah. Yeah, I guess. It's just a weird dynamic. That's why I was hesitant, because obviously they have nothing to play for. Obviously, Tyrod Taylor is not the future. So I'm a little hesitant to say. They said he's going to be the starter, but at this point, what's the point? Unless they want to show him the respect so he can audition for another team. Because obviously, Houston Texans are going to draft a quarterback. So, yeah, I mean, it's worth. I just wouldn't go crazy for Tyrod because, first of all, he's not that good. Second of all, I'm not 100% sure. They said they were going to start him. Makes sense. This guy, Davis Mills, is not getting the job done. But because they don't have nothing to play for, do they just let the rookie ride, see what they got in him? But, I don't think they drafted him to be a starter anyway. So, yeah, long story short, it's worth a shot. Just don't break the bank. Thoughts on Dearness Johnson? I mean, he's a good handcuff, and he had a good game. He's no threat to Chubb. Put it like that. What do you think of Michael Carter rest of the season? Well, he's going to be capped based on the fact that the Jets suck, but he's getting the most touches, and he could be a weekly flex. But again, he's going to have limited upside. Have I held on to A-Rob and OBJ long enough? Yeah, but why stop now? You know what I'm saying? Like, at this point, you're not going to get anything for them. Unless you're in like a 10-team league, then I think you have to keep them. I don't think they're worth dropping for any of the waivers that I mentioned. No, I won't pick up Watson. I think it's a long shot, guys. You guys got to realize that, the type of PR hit a team would take for trading. First of all, how are you going to trade for Watson when you don't know his future. You're not going to give up your whole future because it's going to take your whole future. It's going to take like 3 first-round picks. How are you going to do that without certainty? We don't know if he's going to play, and we're not going to know anytime soon. No team in their right mind is going to give up 3 first-round picks or even 2 first-round picks for a player that could end up in jail. I don't think he will, but give me a tight end I like for this week, for the season, what? Gronk worth keeping. I mean, I've never been a fan of flexing tight ends. But I still think you could trade Gronk. I still think you could get value for Gronk. I wouldn't drop him because he started off like a bat out of hell. But ideally, I wouldn't want him as my flex. Oh, okay. That I think could be on waivers. Okay. This kind of goes with the theme of the video. Remember what I was telling you guys. Sometimes it's hard to see the unseen, and it takes a real skill. And a lot of people, they could only. A player that I've been watching, another player that I mentioned a lot in the offseason. Obviously, things haven't gone as I expected, right? But I'm talking about Cole Kmet, right? So he actually led the team in targets. He's in there like the whole game as a blocker and a pass catcher. They've been using him a lot as a pass blocker. And now, they gave him some targets. I think he had 10 points. Now, Chicago's offense sucks. Justin Fields, I don't know what he's going to be in the future, but right now he sucks. And the people that are blaming the offensive line and Matt Nagy, yes, they don't do him any justice. But guess what? I got news for you. I watched some of that game, and his throws, guys, he just threw it up there, had no pressure, and just threw it right to the other team. He's had several interceptions like that. So you Justin Fields fanboys, oh, well, it's Nagy, it's the offensive line. And again, I acknowledge that. But a lot of times, it's Justin Fields. He sucks right now. But with that said, Kmet is a really good tight end, really talented tight end. And we've seen this before. Players pick up, younger players, not veterans, younger players can pick up and turn it up in the season. I think there's potential there. Would I feel confident starting him? No. But if you ask me a tight end for this week, and even Uzomah, the thing Uzomah's got going for him is he's on a potent offense. He has a good quarterback, unlike Justin Fields. He has Joe Burrow. But the floor is very low for Uzomah as well because they also got my man Chase, Higgins, Boyd, Mixon, right? The good thing is they're throwing more passes now, hopefully, but I don't trust Zach Taylor. Yes, they had 35 passes this last game, I believe, but before that, he was averaging like 25, which is a ridiculous amount of passes for a team with those type of weapons. But maybe they were trying to ease up Joe Burrow. But guys, make no mistake about it. Joe Burrow's a superstar. You can make a case for him being a top 5 quarterback right now, and he's just getting warmed up. So, yeah, if you need a player for this week, Uzomah's got it good. Who's Uzomah play? He plays the Jets. So there's still a low floor just because it's Uzomah, but it's worth a gamble. It's the Jets. If you need a tight end, right? Are the Seahawks running an RBC since Penny is back? The Seahawks, yeah, I mean, it's not really an RBC. I mean, Collins had all the touches pretty much. Or I haven't looked at the snap share, but he definitely had most of the carries. Like everybody, guys, there's always going to be other running backs in the game. You know what I'm saying? But if you're getting 65% of the snaps, that's kind of like the key number. 60 to 65 is not really a committee. You know what I'm saying? What they got in Denver is a committee, but I would say 65%. So he got most of the touches. He got most of the work. I wouldn't necessarily – yes, there was other running backs involved, and most teams, I hate to say it, got a third down back. But I don't consider a team having a third down back being a committee, because a committee would be like an even split, right? You know, there's still one back that gets the majority of the downs and the majority of the work, meaning first, second, and goal line. The third down back usually gets third down and the 2-minute drill. So I don't really consider that a committee. So therefore, I don't really consider Alex Collins being a committee. Start sits, I haven't looked at yet. So for your Goddard Schultz this week, let's address that another day. Just give me your waiver questions, and I'm about to head out anyway. Should I hold on to the Saints D or pick up the Steelers? I never really marry a defense, but it just goes by the matchup, I guess. Steelers or Saints got the Bucks. So yeah, I would go with the Steelers in this one. They got the Browns, much better matchup, and you know they're about even. So yeah. The thing I like about the Saints is that they're done with their bye, but I don't really necessarily consider them an automatic every week start, especially against Tampa, just for the simple fact that I don't think they're a terrible start against Tampa. They're division opponents, so if anybody could slow Tampa down, is teams that are used to facing them every week. But I would still go Pittsburgh in this situation. The Browns, I mean, you know. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up. Any last minute questions? Let me know. Game World Scott. You know what? I really don't see a difference between the two. I guess Gainwell ever so slightly, but it could very well be Boston Scott. Like, and that's why I'm not really like enamored with getting Gainwell, and that's why I dropped him, because I knew even best case scenario, Philly's not even running the ball, not even with Miles Sanders. They don't throw the ball that often to the running back. And he's still going to split. So I think, like I said, the upside is it's going to be a toss up. Whoever gets the touchdown, Boston Scott might actually have a better chance of getting a touchdown, but Philly as an offense just stinks either way. But so yeah, if I had to pick, I pick Gainwell, and that's why I put him in this video. But it could easily be Boston Scott. Like, it's like Gainwell 51%, Boston Scott 50%. That's how close it is. Maybe 55-50. All right, guys, I'm gonna head out. If you're interested in the premium product, $10 rest of the year, 4 emails a week. If you're interested in the betting group, $50 for the whole month. All right, guys, let's keep crushing it. And DFS is the same price, 50. Just comment, reach out to me on Instagram. All right, until next time, love y'all. Peace. We out.